Hey everyone, Sari here, and welcome back to another week of Dark Season defense matches. I was pretty happy with how well the new defense worked out last time, so I ended up keeping things mostly the same this week. Katri is a fantastic enabler for the team, giving the entire squad an orders buff along with triangle attack. Combined, these make the team's movement really unpredictable, and lethal if they find a target. Zelgius and Felix help the team shut down hit-and-run or gale force approaches, for the most part. Their positions force any attackers to go through at least one of them before attacking their allies, and they also double as serious threats if tanked. Bramimond's always a major threat too, especially with access to triangle attack. Having a rally helps him get access to the enemy front line, even if they try to bait from outside of his usual threat area, and the orders buff can give him access to most of the map. Edelgard's kit is set up to make him immune to mill after the first turn. While his defense seems a bit manageable at first, the combination of Vogasa and defense tactic push him out of range of even the most highly invested bonus week millas. Note's a solid threat in her bonus week too, even though she's mostly here to enable the 7th slot. While Pathfinder doesn't extend any ranges from the starting positions, Note will usually move early since she isn't using an assist skill, which can extend the rest of the team's threat range a bit further than opponents might expect. Celica's here as a guest star for the week. I actually think Rashad's a better fit for the team, but the combination of her bonus week and a fire season was too good a chance to miss. While it might seem like overkill to use Flashing Blade and Time Spells for a 2 cooldown special like Ruptured Sky, the combination lets her activate it even through guard effects like Special Fighter, and combined with triangle attack and the true damage from her weapon and flashing blade, she becomes nearly impossible to survive. Overall, the defense held up really well. While there were a couple of clean losses near the end of the week, most of the week was a solid wall of successes. It's good to see results like these, and the losses still gave me some ideas for improving the defense. So let's get to the first match. This one was a bit of an awkward start to the week. They brought along a pretty decent hit-and-run approach with the Ophelia and Lyncha, and also brought in a Ninja Levitain to round out the team. I think the idea here is to pick off a couple of key targets before the fight begins and let Levitain or Freya clean up what's left. It's not a bad approach at all. I think it can do a lot of work against most teams. And they get this started right away, whether or not they intended to, by leaving Freya in range of the orders buffs. The really awkward part about this was that Katria didn't actually Kento out of the way, since the tile to the right of her is actually threatened more than the tile she's standing on here. Which ends up meaning that Freya doesn't get attacked at all, and the team stalls out. From there, it's easy enough for Ophelia to start picking things off. Which lets Lyn move in and clean up Katria. And they can self-dance her, and take down Zelgius as well. This does leave them in a pretty awkward spot though, even though Freya does get to take down Bramimond as well, and they do it by risking the heavy crap. It does mean that Celica's got a front row seat to their front line. And, well, Ophelia is not surviving that. And then she gets danced, and can take down Lyn as well.
For the future of this land. What a mission.
They do decide to keep going here, and at this point it's actually pretty easy for them to clean things up. They can just dance Freya, which gives her enough speed to break through Celica.
So unpleasant
and Freya is able to bait Note and Eldigan into attacking her. Her binding necklace is actually really good against Note, since it basically cancels out the entire menace. And sadly, Eldigan is just a few points of damage away from finishing Peony off here. And at this point it's easy enough for them to finish things off. Luna's enough for her to break through Eldigan. And then she can get danced. And take down Note. It's a bit of a messy win, and I'm not too worried about it overall. This match was a lot of fun to see, mostly just for the chance to see a maxed out Chrom in action. I think he's actually really solid now with access to the Sealed Falchion Refine and the Resplendent, and when he's maxed out like this, he is extremely bulky. The follow-up denial is actually really important for him since it helps him beat guaranteed follow-up checks from units like Bramimond or Bolt Fighters. And having access to speed-based damage reduction, thanks to how much speed he can actually end up stacking, does a lot of work for him. And of course, backing him up with a Brave Lucina is a great way to just enable his entire kit. They've also got a Brave Hector as a backup tank, which probably helps them a lot for baiting multiple spots at once. Unfortunately though, trying to just walk up and bait this choke point is not the best idea. Mostly just because, even at this level, Chrom can't handle Felix. While he does get to deny Felix's third and fourth attacks, it's not enough for him to actually do anything to Felix. And, well, Lucina goes down to Bramimond, and Celica can finish him off. And losing those two is enough for them to surrender the match and move on. This was another fun match to see. They brought along an interesting set of units, including a Winter Altina, who I think is their primary carry unit on the team, and backed her up with a bonus week Zeke and a Selena. Selena is actually a really great hit and run unit, just because of her ability to hit res and also easily run Windsweep. I think this is a pretty solid team, honestly, and again can probably crack open a lot of defenses without many problems, especially when it's played well. And I think they do a good job of that here, using Selena to pick off Felix. It's pretty close, though. And then they can dance her and pull everybody back. They do a really good job of retreating, and I think they were expecting, maybe, to be out of range of everything that would be relevant. Unfortunately, Bramimond decides that he's going to pretend to be Reinhardt, and actually ends up moving 6 spaces in one turn to quad Zeke. They do decide to pick up a few more knockouts here. I think it's mostly just revenge kills at this point. And thanks to the bolt tower damage, they can clean things up pretty well. Unfortunately, they can't get to the Catria here, which means that Altina can't actually enable her Vantage, and without that they can't really win. This was a neat team to see too. They brought along a Holland Dimitri, and backed him up with an Eleonora. These two are actually a really great pair, since they can both prevent counterattacks, and that lets them cut through a lot of front lines pretty effortlessly. And between Dimitri's Kanto and Eleonora's ranged attack, they can hit and run without too many problems, especially with Mila to help isolate a dancer to prevent anything from catching up. Unfortunately, I think they just got caught off guard a little bit here by the orders buff and left Dimitri right in range of the initial assault. And well, that doesn't end well for him. And with Bramimond there, Felix can jump in and pick off Eleonora. We can't reach the rest of their team, but that's enough for them to surrender and move on. This one was, well, one of those matches where they take a look at the defense and decide they don't want anything to do with it. A win's a win, I'm not too worried about it, although it is nice to see what people bring to the table. This was where things started to get really spicy on defenses. They brought along a maxed out Chrom this fight, and he's very intimidating when he's in season and this much investment behind him. They also backed him up with the legendary Leaf, who as always is a really fantastic hit and run unit when he's in season, especially when you back him up with 2 Peonies. Altogether, especially with Chrom's to change fate and the Gale Force that Leaf gets, there are a lot of movement options for this team. And it gives them a lot of ways to crack defenses open without having to worry too much about retaliation. Chrom goes in here, and he can't quite finish Felix off in one round, which means that they're forced to dance him, pull Peony back, and then go back in to finish Felix off. And while this does take Felix out of the picture, they've only taken him down so far, and they're basically out of actions, so Leaf ends up getting a bit stuck on the front line here, and leaves him wide open for Celica. I think they might have been hoping that Leaf would be able to enemy phase Celica, but she's a little too bulky for that, even if she wasn't quadding. They decide to keep going here. With Felix out of the way, Chrom has no problems taking Zelgius down. And they can dance him, and pull him back, to help the team retreat to safety. They do a good job of pulling out of range here, and the team can't catch up this turn. And they end up getting a little bit spread out, and easy to pick up on the next one. Chrom can take down Catria pretty easily, but he does have a problem at this point when he can't actually one-shot any of the rest of the team. He can take down Note after a dance, and try to intercept the team to prevent them from reaching his teammates, but it's just not quite enough at this point. They're out of room. And Celica can go take Mill out of the picture.
For the future of this land.
Before getting danced and taking down Peony. I was a little surprised that she didn't go after Chrom here. I don't think he could have one-shotted her, and I'm pretty sure she would have finished him off. She still got 2 knockouts, and sadly, Peony didn't quite get smited out of range of Bramimond. And with only Chrom left, that's enough for them to surrender the match. This match was very interesting to see. They brought along a +10 Ophelia, complete with Pulse Smoke and Spiral, a +10 Linja, who is just, at this point, is an absolute menace, a +10 Peony, carrying attack and speed tactics for her 2 carries, another +10 Peony carrying Def and Res tactics, just to help round things out, a +10 Milla in her bonus week, and a +5 Dogger, who is a little bit out of place among the rest of them. The distant defense stacking is actually a really great way to help her bait ranged opponents out. And I do like that idea a lot. They take a turn just to start getting set up here and clear out the wall in the front. And then get in position for the engagement. Before having Ophelia run forward and take down Felix. From here they can't quite get to Catria safely, since they've already used both dances, so they decide to pull back and try to engage on the next turn instead. Unfortunately, the movements actually let Zelgius warp forward with a triangle attack and take down Ophelia. And losing that 1 unit's enough for them to surrender and move on. This one was another fun match to see. While it's not quite as stacked a team as the last one, they still have a very impressive maxed out Duo Ephraim on this team. The Times Pulse Heavy Blade Mill follow-up is a great way to help him be a Gale Force partner for the Fallen Edelgard on their team. And together I think they can usually just clear out most of the major threats on an enemy team before they have a chance to act. Unfortunately, I think they might have overestimated Ephraim a bit here, or underestimated Celsius, since Ephraim doesn't actually meet the Heavy Blade requirements for his auto follow-up or for his Heavy Blade against Celsius. He also can't one-shot Celsius without the Bolt Tower, or naturally double him without a visible buff from Peony's Dance. And altogether that ends up making them try for a different approach. I do think they could have gone in here with the Bolt Tower and had Ephraim take Celsius down, but they decide to just try and bait this out with Fallen Edelgard instead. It doesn't go as well as they might have hoped. Bram rallies forward and gets danced, but Celica's the one who steps in and takes Edelgard down. Getting the Ruptured Sky on the second hit lets her bypass Edelgard's damage reduction for her stronger attack. and tears right through Edelgard, and that's enough for them to surrender. This match was the first clean loss of the week, which is always a little unfortunate to see, but they did bring along a very impressive maxed out Summer Mia as the spearhead of the team, who also enables the entire Wings of Mercy chain from the rest of her allies, thanks to the Fury. It's a very well set up Wings of Mercy chain too. Tethys even helps Dogger get her Gale Force, thanks to the Infantry Pulse, and having 3 dancers, one of them a Duo Peony for the 4th dance, means they have enough actions to carve through an entire enemy team in one turn. They did get pretty lucky with their Bolt Tower placement here. I don't think this actually would have worked without that Bolt Tower damage. They take a couple of turns setting up while they wait for it, picking up both of the Aether Pots ahead of a planned out 1-turn clear, and then set up near the front. Even with the Bolt Tower damage, this actually ends up being very close. Mia actually needs both of the Peony's drive effects online just to be able to finish Felix off here. But once Felix is down, the rest of the team is pretty easy to start picking apart. Tethys can dance her forward to take down Catria, and then Duo Peony wings in, and Zeke can warp in to finish off Celcius. Mia doesn't have to worry about the traps thanks to Disarm Trap and can take down Note. And the new position lets Dogger warp in and take down Bramimond. The Gale Force lets her move over and take down Celica next, while Mia gets yet another dance. And move forward to take down Elfkin.
I am here with you.
It was a pretty satisfying rematch, though, after this. This loss hurt a bit, especially on the heels of the last one, but they did bring along a very impressive maxed out Bernadetta here. Fury Brash Assault is actually a really neat combo with her weapon, giving her access to a forced double that punches through wary effects and desperation at the same time. And they're backing her up with not 1, not 2, but 3 Duo Peonies, which in itself is most of the reason I'm not too worried about this clear. While it is a weakness, I suppose, I don't think it's very common to have 3 Duo Peonies on a single team, and this honestly feels more like a break in case of emergency squad than anything else. Not using 3 mythics on the team actually really holds you back on scoring, assuming all of the mythics have merges, and at this level of AR, this late in the week, most people are going to have merges on at least 3 of their mythics. They do spend several turns working out how they want to approach this. I think they were hoping the Bolt Trap would be real, since it would enable Bernadetta's weapon and Brash Assault at the same time. But when it's not real, they decide to rethink their approach, pick off the pots, pull back, and get into position to clear things out. They do actually need to line up most of these peonies up to help Bernadetta break through Felix. And even with them, she can't actually punch through him in one combat. But when they have effectively 6 dancers on the team, that's not much of a problem, since they can just dance her once, and finish Felix off. And with Felix out of the way, she can move over to pick off Catria, which disables the duo's hindrance, and lets the Duo Peonies dance each other to let Bernie continue rampaging through the team. And then dance again to take down Celica. And then another duo dance to move forward for Note. And then Dogger can warp in to take out Bramimond before they give Bernie one last dance to take down Edelgard. This was another very satisfying rematch to clear. This match was a bit of a relief to see after the last two losses, and it's good to close the week out with a success. Especially a success against a maxed out fallen Edelgard. She's very impressive, and she's backed up with this Brave Lucina, which is an interesting choice. She doesn't really benefit from the breath effect of Lucina's weapon. And, well, the maxed out Morgan on the side here is not really benefiting from Lucina at all. It's still a pretty impressive team. I do think Morgan's a great way to help enable Edelgard thanks to debuffs, and he can really pick off anything that would threaten Edelgard before it has a chance to do it. They take a turn just to get set up here, letting Edelgard get her stride active and make sure she stays transformed. And then they break the panic manner and start getting ready for the fight. They end up actually just shoving Edelgard all the way into the front line here. I think to just try and bottleneck the team as much as they can. But going for this sort of an approach ends up being a little dangerous for Lucina. Felix takes the first attack here. He can't take Edelgard down, but he does survive the bonfire. And then he gets danced, and unfortunately at this point, Lucina actually has more health than Edelgard does, so Celica prioritizes going after Lucina instead.
I'm sorry.
And while Bramimond can do quite a bit of damage to Edelgard here, it's not quite enough to finish her off. And Felix doesn't have enough health to survive another bonfire from her, so he doesn't end up getting anything else done. And she can just tank her way through Catria. And then Note too. It is a bit unfortunate, since if Celica had attacked Edelgard here, Edelgard would have just died outright. But it's okay. They do go for some revenge knockouts here. Edelgard can finish Celica off thanks to the Gale Force. But then when they dance her forward, they realize that she's going to be attacking Celcius instead, and they surrender and move on. Overall, it was a pretty good week, I think, for defenses. That it held up really well with a couple of kind of exceptional cases near the end of the week. So I'm pretty happy with it. I might experiment a bit with trying to fit a second distant guard into the team, just to help Felix weather the storm against some of those edge cases. But other than that, I think the defense is in a pretty decent spot, and we'll see what happens next time around. I do have a Discord link in the description if you'd like to hang out and chat, and there's also a Patreon page if you'd like to help support the channel. As always, I hope you've enjoyed the video, good luck with your own matches, and I'll see you next time.